Welcome to the Tech Talk show this afternoon with me, Kazeem. And today we're going to be doing things a little different. So we're just going to be having an open mic where you get to ask any questions that you want. So instead of the usual topics that we talk about from time to time. And I'm not doing this alone today as usual on the show. So I have Adnan Hendricks and Samuel Erskine with me on the show today. Good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Both of my guests today are not new on the Tech Talk, but for the benefit of those joining us fresh for the first time, I think it will still be nice for us to kick things off with an introduction. So I'm going to be starting with you, Adnan. So you want to let the people know a little bit about you and what you do, Adnan.
Well, who I am, Adnan Hendricks. I'm a South African citizen living in the Netherlands. Pretty much work all over the world as a consultant, mainly doing cloud, Windows, anything Microsoft cloud-based, really. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you very much for that summary intro, Adnan. And I've also got Sam on the show. So hi and good afternoon to you, Sam. You want to also shoot an introduction?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sam Erskine. I'm based down in the UK. I'm also a global citizen of Africa. I've done a whole raft of IT roles, but today I help a large organization to get cloud applications onboarded, and my role is really more around engagements now. So the whole end-to-end process. So I'll work with somebody like Adnan, but without having to take the pain, because Adnan is the pain doctor. I just happen to be the person. In my current role, we help you on your journey and make sure you land safely in the cloud.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sam, for that introduction again. You've heard it from Sam and Adnan now, so we're just going to throw the mic open. Like we promised, today is about question and answer. So you get to ask us any question, of your choice, any question at all that you want. So, but it would be nice if you ask questions to have your hands be raised first and then shoot your question. So I'll be on the watch out for people raising their hands so that you can ask your question. I have somebody raising his hand, so I'm going to go with Oluwafemi first. Oluwafemi, you want to go ahead with your question? You want to unmute and speak?
Okay, sir. Recently, yes. You've been about cloud computing for that, and I was like, for startups that want to venture into cloud computing with Microsoft, like let's say Azure, what are the prerequisites or starting point for them?
Okay, the prerequisite for getting into cloud computing. So I think I'm going to be throwing this one to Sam. Sam, you want to help? Then maybe you can go around. I'm sure Adnan will also want to say something. So what do you, Sam?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's so broad. To begin the question, right, depends on what you're trying to do. So we just had a very impromptu demonstration. We're in a virtual meeting, and someone had their mic open. If you were using traditional means by holding a mic, you won't be able to do what I just did, which is simply right-click and mute that participant. On a more serious note, there's always a reason why you want to do something. So today, if you are a startup, there's no need for you to think about, should I buy a PC? Should I build my own email system? The cloud technology part of it allows you to get to those things that when I and Adnan started our careers were very difficult. So I would say start off with why. It's an old piece, right? So why do you want to get in the cloud? Everybody wants to be something, but why do you specifically think cloud will work for you? And there's so many resources out there that can answer that question. That's why I'm keeping it very high level. But let me hand it over to Adnan and see if he can build on that.
Well, to answer the question on a personal level, looking at the individual, like let's say you don't have any knowledge about what Microsoft Azure or Microsoft Cloud is, I'd say go look at some of the documentation that Microsoft has on the docs.microsoft.com. They have with Microsoft Learn lots of these little films that show you how the cloud, how their cloud works, how all the pieces fit together. And I'd say, if you're coming from a technical background, you understand how computers work, how netbooks work, and you just want to learn Azure, you can do the Azure fundamentals. So you could follow the Azure fundamentals on Microsoft Learn and get to know how you can apply things that you already know, because there's still going to be a server. It's just, where is that server? How do you communicate with that server? What kind of new ways do you have to run an application or to make an application available? So those are the things that you would learn in things like the Azure Fundamentals course or trainings on Microsoft Learn. You can do it for free and get up to speed. And if you need more specialized technical training, you can then follow a course. But just to get started, up and running, no matter where you are based in the world and you just want to learn cloud, we have these kind of meetups that you can also join. We do trainings, and if there's something specific that, like, let's say you would like to know, you could just let us know. We can either do a session on it or get you some information and where you can find that information. So I hope that you're on the right track.
Before I forget, all of the cloud providers usually have this thing called cloud adoption framework. I believe Microsoft have that as well. That's also a good place to start from a general knowledge perspective.
Okay, thank you very much, Adnan and Sam, for that answer, for those responses. So there's nothing much for me to say now, so that I don't sound like a broken record already. So I also see there's Ancestor of Lasso also raising his hand. Ancestor, you want to shoot with your question now? You need to unmute if you're speaking already. Okay, I guess Ancestor can.
I can remember the. Yes, can.
Okay, go ahead. Yes. Okay, I think I'm going.
Could also type it in the chat, maybe.
Yes. So Ancestor, if you can have it in the chat instead, I think you're having a little connectivity issue. But I also see Kayode David raising his hands. Kayode, do you want to go ahead and ask your question now?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, my question is, as an accounting student, what can we leverage on for us to be more versatile in the accounting field?
Okay, in the accounting field. Okay.
Learn to use technology, get as much knowledge on technologies available in your field. That's going to allow you to be better at doing that. So you could say it's basically what Sam and myself try to help companies out with, because we don't sometimes understand the way they do business. So what we do is we interview them, they tell us how their businesses work, and then we'll relate that into how technology can help them do their business better, so they can be more efficient, more productive, and also in the end of the day, earn more by having better technology. So It doesn't matter what sort of field you are in. I'd say, learn new technologies. It's going to make your world just that much simpler and easier and better. And nothing's more so than cloud. If you look at all the accounting software packages out there in the past, it was always difficult to install and set up on networks and those sort of things. So a lot of companies, accounting package companies, they are bringing in cloud and SaaS applications that are just easier to use. So, if you're still learning old technology things, companies are going to be moving on to the newer technology stuff. So you always have to be up to date with those kind of things. So that would be my best answer for you. So over to Sam and Kazeem.
Thank you, Adnan. And in addition to what Adnan just mentioned, the traditional ways of doing accounting work is becoming stale, is becoming old school. So you need to embrace, especially now in the time of COVID, so you need to embrace new ways of trying to get things done, leveraging on technologies, for instance, in the Microsoft space, we have the Excel, right? So it's the tool that everybody knows, but yet very powerful. So people don't get to use it to its potential, its maximum potential, So there's the Power BI tool as well that you can leverage, you can predict, make up business cases leveraging on some of these tools. So that's my take on that. Sam, you want to chip in a word or two?
Just very simply, I think the gentleman asked about being versatile. If you want to be versatile, don't go in falling in love with a tool. Fall in love with a problem you're trying to solve, because there's so many ways in which you can do it today with all of the tools that Kazeem's mentioned. So if you want to be versatile, don't think, I want to use Excel, I want to use Power BI. How do I do it? First, start off with, I'm trying to do this. Which platform, which tool, which provider allows me to do it most efficiently? And I'll give you that versatility.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Ancestor, do you want to go ahead now? Do you have a better network now? Okay, not yet. Is there any other question from anybody else?
There's a question in the chat, Kazeem.
Okay.
Oluwafemi.
Okay, from Oluwafemi. Okay, can Power Apps be used to build robot applications like WhatsApp, Facebook, etc.? Adnan, you want to respond to this question?
Sure.
Yeah.
And the easy answer would be yes, but the second question, or the second thing I'd say would be a question on Power Apps can do a lot of things, right? So you can write an application, but if you want to make it available for any kind of platform, I have pasted in the link to the docs to give you more technical information. If you're already familiar with Power Apps, it will just take you straight to where you can do that. So the answer is yes, but the other question would be, is what are you really trying to achieve? Because Power Apps is a great way to make information available and also to get information from different end users using this application. So there is cross-platform abilities for Android, iOS, for example. But if you want to build a large app like Facebook or WhatsApp, I'd say Power Apps wouldn't be the thing I would use. I'd go look at more cloud services that can create a mobile app that you could then put into a specific app store and write it in things like Xamarin and different other programming languages, and just hook it up to cloud services. And that will give you a functional, application to run on different mobiles worldwide. For Power Apps, I'd use it more for in-company information with not, like millions of users all over the world. So, for example, when hooking it up to a database, it's pretty easy to do that. But if you want to have a database that scans, let's say globally, I'd go look into things like Cosmos DB that you could run on Azure in different regions. And that's more something that I'd use for this sort of use case. So Power Apps can do it, and you can use Power Apps across different mobile platforms like Android and iOS through the Power Apps mobile app. And once you have your Power App running, you could just access it from your phone. But once again, always look at what you are trying to achieve. And sometimes there's a better way. I think Sam just mentioned that to the question before this. First, look at what are you trying to achieve, and is there a better way? Don't just look straight into one specific technology. Always have a look and see, will the technology deliver what I'm trying to achieve? And just by reading your question, I can tell you, yes, it can. But if you really want to create a WhatsApp or Facebook, I'd say go look at more cloud services and cloud databases, etc. So that's my answer. If you guys have anything extra to add,
No.
I think the response is good enough. So there's also John. John, you want to go ahead and ask your question? Unmute and then ask your question.
Yes, I want to ask a question on. I've been following the lectures, but I've found it difficult to understand what that Power App actually means, because I'm new to tech, so I want to know what Power Apps actually mean, and what programming language would you advise someone that is working on a social media to use while working on that? Thank you.
Okay. For Power Apps is one of those tools under the umbrella of Power Platform. So that there's this Power Platform with a number of tools that you can leverage with. We have the Power Apps being one of the tools. So you can use that to build applications of choice. So even if you know other programming languages, there are ways of integrating other programming languages with Power Apps. So Power Apps is one of them. There is also Power Automate. So Power Automate, you use that to orchestrate processes. So if you have some manual processes that you're looking to automate, so you can take advantage of Power Automate to do that. There's also the Power Virtual Agent. So if you're looking to build bots, for instance, you're looking to build chat bots, so you can take advantage of the Power Virtual Agent. And there is also the very popular Power BI. So Power BI is an analytical tool, more sophisticated version of the Excel that we all know. So those four products are grouped together under the umbrella of Power Platform. So Power Apps is just one example. I thought Adnan also mentioned that if you're looking to build solutions, you're looking to build more sophisticated solution, or you want to have a social media for yourself, like something similar to Facebook, WhatsApp, maybe you might need to look at some other programming languages or other platform that can help you do it better, right? So instead of just thinking Power Apps. Adnan, Sam, you want to add to this?
I think this is more Adnan's territory, right? Because I can answer it, but Adnan can go a little bit deeper.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the nice thing about wanting to learn how to use Power Apps is that you don't need to be a developer. So it's a no-code, low-code option to create different kinds of applications. So there's a number of different apps that you can go and create. You can go and create what we call Canvas apps. And Canvas apps is really just the way you start with a user experience, like you want to create an interface of an application. So it's more looking, what is the user going to do? What's the first screen that is going to get? And what's the flow of the use of that persona? And then you have model-driven applications, you have portals, and also Microsoft Dataverse. So it's really just, are you going to create a portal? Is it a model-driven application, or is it working on data? So you have like a data model, and you, based on what the data is going to say, you want to have an application that caters for the data. So you could maybe have just an application that you want to use to input information, or you want to just have an application that's going to pull information from different data sources and just present that to the end user or the person using the application. And it's a nice way to get into making an application or an app without having any developer experience. So it's basically just a platform that allows you to use certain services, that allows you to really just select things like the data source for input or for output, and things like setting up or creating a small form to enter information. So it's really intuitive. And what I will do is I'm going to look in the Power Apps documentation, paste that into the chat window so you could pull it up from there and just get more detailed info on that. But like I said, it's really a low code, no code solution to help you to create an application or an app without any developer knowledge. You really don't even need a technical background. So it's really intuitive, and it's basically just click and select what you want to do, where the data source or input is, and then how you want to have that viewed in the end. So I've pasted in the documentation link in the chat window, and you can go and get some more detailed information on how it technically works and what you need. For example, like licensing, and it's pretty much free for the first 30 days.
The trial, yes.
Months or period, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say I love analogies, because when we talk about technology, we often forget that it's actually human.
Yeah.
So my definition of Power Apps, if you want, as a student, if you want to conceptualize it, is it's the equivalent of getting into the car and driving it without knowing what's in the engine. You still need to know where you're going to go, right? You still need to have passed a little bit of your driving test. So you need to build the logic of what you're trying to achieve before diving in there, because it's powerful. That's why it's called Power Apps. But it can equally be powerful in a negative way if you don't plan how you're going to do this no code, low code.
Okay. Thank you very much for responding to that question. Okay, so I think we can have one more question before we call it a wrap on today's episode of the show. Any more questions from the still up? Okay, somebody is sending me a direct message now on for somebody who is into management science. How can they keep themselves up to speed with technology and to also stay relevant?
Wow. Well, I'll pick it up and say, you are on this call, so you are keeping yourself relevant with technology. Follow people like Kazeem, keep up with the blogs. And it's very interesting. I think this is a great time to actually be interested in technology, because there's so many people giving you information freely, but just tailor what you're trying to achieve. And there's always going to be somebody there that will take you to the edge.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if we can squeeze in just one last one. So there's Idris Usman.
Something into the chat.
Okay, Idris Usman, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Okay. My question goes this way, is from a development point of view. For instance, if one want to do continuous integration and continuous development, how does he do that? Will he link up his IDE, say VS Code or Visual Studio, while he commits his code and he sees the changes implemented in real time. How will that be achieved using Azure?
Well, that's a big question for a minute, right? I think it might be best to sort of like follow up with Kazeem and Adnan afterwards, because I don't think we will have enough time to do that question justice, but you have Kazeem's details. Are you two all right to dive into this? Because I can see DevOps and all kinds of stuff in here with that, the answer to that one.
Yes, so I think the best way to approach it, just like Sam mentioned, is to do a follow-up, with us. My Twitter handle is Kazeem Can Teach, Adnan Micro Specialist, Samuel Erskine, so you can follow us and, we can do this backstage. So since it's a little bit more technical driven. So I can see there's one more question in the chat asking about Windows 365. What is it about, the cloud PC, Adnan? And when we started the show, we're just talking about some new introductions, right? And Windows 365 is one of them. So you want to quickly whet the people's appetite a little bit about Windows 365?
Yes, Kazeem and Sam. My opinion is it's going to be the best thing in technology since Office 365. So if we look at what a big impact Office 365 has made in terms of, that accelerated production and productivity for companies to use cloud, using Windows 365 is going to be even better for those companies that are already running things like VDI situations internally. Right? So if you look at just the savings that people had with things like Office 365, where they no longer needed the infrastructure to run things like Exchange, SharePoint, licensing and updates with Office applications, etc. With Windows 365, people will have access to a Windows desktop, so they can get access to Windows running on Microsoft infrastructure, and all they need to do is really just use it, and it will be a pay-per-use offering. So it's going to be like a Windows desktop or Windows in the cloud. Whenever you need it, you don't need it, and it's not being used, it's going to cost you a lot less. There's going to be licensing costs, so you're always going to be paying per use as long as you use it. But it's really going to change technology in the coming years.
Okay, thank you very much, Adnan. So I'm planning to have a complete episode, a full episode of Windows 365, hopefully soon. So this is how much time I believe we can take on today's episode of the show. So I'll just leave my guests on today's TED Talk, Sam and Adnan, with a parting word before we say bye-bye now. You want to go first, Sam?
Yes, I'll say, well, thank you very much for inviting us once again. Half an hour is never enough, but it's a pleasure. Thank you to the guests for all the questions. And as Kazeem said, you can always reach out to us. We'd love to help the community.
Sure. Once again, Torso, thanks for having me on the show. And the things that we discussed, like Windows 365, DevOps, continuous integration, and having that in Azure, those are definitely things that we can have a full session about. So, with 45 minutes at least, end-to-end talking on each subject. So let us know, hit us up on social, and let Kazeem know what other questions you do have, and we can pick it up either offline or have a session about it. And that's all for me. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you very much, Adnan and Sam, for coming to join me on today's episode of the Tech Talk. And thank you very much, guys, for tuning in to the episode today. So please do follow the Tech Talk on social media. So it's Tech Talk Wednesday on YouTube and on the other social media channels as well. So let's do continue to keep safe, and let's do this another time. So thank you very much from myself and Adnan and Sam. It's a bye-bye from us now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.